Sometimes there's a news event or what have you that I notice that catches my attention, makes me want to do one of these videos. Um, Everybody's familiar with Damar Hamlin. Got a tee up video here. It's Brandon Tatum. Okay. Um, there's two different ways we can go with the Damar Hamlin situation, and I happen to think that it's possible that it wasn't the impact from the hit, that it was the treatment that, and you can't even hardly say it too. I don't even know if I could say it on this video because I've gotten popped by YouTube or their tube twice for giving health information or false information, or they don't tell you what you did wrong, but they tell you the category. So, um, that being said, I have a reputation, which I don't know if it's well deserved or not, of being a conspiracy theorist. And I just happen to think that there's a standard narrative that elites and powerful people prefer to have out that doesn't, I would say most often actually, does not actually have our best interest at heart, like our health. If that makes me a conspiracy theorist, then so be it. When you see an incident take place, it gets my radar up or antenna up or whatever, however you want to rephrase it. So let's listen to Brandon because Brandon has a different take on it. So I'm definitely one to take in, I think, both sides of the situation, multiple sides of of a of an opinion, or both sides of different perspectives. So let's listen to Brandon Tatum here.
This is not going to. This ain't finna take me long. I remember everybody got mad at me and they called me a shield for Pfizer and all kind of other stuff because I made mention that I believed that his cardiac incident happened because of impact. Now, I'm aware that people are dropping like flies because of the Juicy McJuicy. I'm not stupid. But in this particular situation, there was an incredible impact that happened before he passed out. And I would argue his heart probably had stopped when he stood up. But it takes a while for the blood to stop pumping, the pressure to go down, and you pass out. But see, people were mad at me saying I'm stupid and that they don't believe in me, they unfollowing me and all of this. Because y'all cannot think. You cannot compartmentalize. I see a man standing, he just dropped with nothing going on. Clearly, it might be the thing. But when I see a dude take an impact, this dude ain't even big. I play safety. Just because a dude kind of turned and hit you in it, that's an impact, bro. That's a legit impact. And a skinny dude like that, take one to the chest, that could cause something to happen. But don't listen to me. One or two things are going to happen in this video. Some of y'all going to say, man, I should have listened to Brandon. He always right about just about everything.
All right. So I'm going to stop that there. Let's just talk this over. Okay. He's coming from this not unrealistically. Okay. So anybody who says it could be the impact, could it have been the impact? Absolutely, it could be the impact. I'd like to talk about it from why it might not just be the impact, because I think what happens is this could be, I think, important because it explains a lot in regards to how you evaluate information, especially when it comes to information that you're given through the news media. Those of us, and I would count Brandon Tatum as one of these people that view things alternatively. He kind of mentioned this, that, well, I don't know if he mentioned it or not, I can't remember. But anyway, he's one of the alternative media people. It doesn't matter. He's not going to toe the line In fact, it's probably not even in his best interest to toe the line. So he believes this. There's no question in my mind. He believes this. And here's another thing. He played football at a higher level than I ever did, so there's that aspect of it. So I don't dismiss what people say about that. I don't dismiss what he's saying. I got a buddy of mine. He says the same thing. Why do I still maintain the position? And I'm not saying I know for certain it's one thing over the other. I'm not saying that. I'm saying I don't know why people are saying that, because here's the problem with what Brandon just did. Brandon said Damar Hamlin has said that it was Commotio Cordis. Okay? Now, I'm going to get to this situation. So we've got two options here: Commotio Cordis or the you know what that caused the situation. Somehow, some way. Here's the situation as we see it. We are dealing with two rare events. The idea that I'm a conspiracy theorist because I think, well, it may be the other event. The only reason in the world anybody would even say it wouldn't be that, or at least take that should be taken off the table, is because they saw a NFL hit take place before this happened. And then they say, well, obviously it was the hit because it coincided with the hit. Here's the problem. So many people are dying when it doesn't coincide with the hit. What are the odds that somebody drops and there is no hit? It just happens to be a hit. They take hits all the time. The odds of it happening, right after a hit. Okay, what if it's both? Commotio Cordis. This is something that I think people are failing to understand in regards to the Damar Hamlin situation. Commotio Cordis happens when you get hit by a hard object. I don't care what Brandon Tatum is saying at this point, because there's something that I think he's not understanding. Are there violent hits and a lot of impact, and that things happen in impacts? Yeah. Commotio Cordis isn't normally that. So not only is it rare, anybody who says that was what we saw, should be even more rare. Why? Let me explain. Go find a situation in which it was, when you find Commotio Cordis. First of all, Commotio Cordis is something that they don't diagnose that per se, in the sense that we go, oh, we know it's this, we can figure out it's this. Like, you can look at somebody's body or afterwards and find out and know, oh, there's the telltale signs of Commotio Cordis. No, you have to eliminate everything else, and you just have to assume it was that, because nobody really understands what it is. It just happens to, and it makes sense. I'm not against the concept. It's the idea that, there's an impact to the heart, and it happens to mess with the electrical activity. I mean, actually, if your heart goes out and they shock you, you were sort of doing that when you're trying to shock the heart back. So it makes all the sense in the world that Commotio Cordis is a real thing. What doesn't make as much sense is to say that a football impact, like what we just saw there, is what will cause it. Because show me an instance when that's ever happened. I can tell you the instances when it does. It's a baseball, softball, hockey puck, or a punch. Because you're talking about a very precise impact in a small area right directly to the chest. That ain't what we saw there. I don't care how direct I don't care how violent the hit was, because when we watch that hit take place, there's a couple of things going on. First of all, this is something that anybody's ever played football ought to know. Shoulder pads are padded. It's even in the name. Shoulder pad. They're padded. They're soft with a shell. When you got the front part where he got hit, there's a hard shell there and a pad. What was he hit by? Another shoulder pad. You had two pads cushioning that blow. Could it have still happened? Sure, sure. The world's a crazy place. Things could still happen. We're talking about likelihood. What is more likely? Here's the problem. He rolls. He gets hit. He rolls. You can't roll. You get hit with a baseball. There's no rolling. A hockey puck, there's no rolling. He was making a tackle. He braced for the impact. He rolled with the impact. It doesn't matter how violent it was. You could throw it in full speed. You could throw it in double time speed. It doesn't matter. That's the problem with saying it's Commotio Cordis. So I'm not saying it wasn't that. I'm saying when anybody goes, well, it must have been that because the doctor said it and Damar Hamlin, they told Damar Hamlin and Damar Hamlin said it. They said words. So they can't diagnose it. That's not normally Commotio Cordis. In fact, go find it when it's ever happened that way. I bet you never will. I bet it'll never happen again. Or it will happen again, and we're going to see, all of a sudden, a lot more instances of Commotio Cordis. And here's the coincidental part, right? 70% of the NFL has got the you-know-what. Was supposed to have gotten the you-know-what. The health, I'm trying to dilly-dally around saying the word because I don't want to get hit by their tube again. 70%. 100% deal in impacts. So you could say, well, how come we only saw Damar Hamlin? Okay. Well, I don't know what the percentage is of people who just drop from it. It doesn't appear to be super high, but it appears to be high enough to be a concern. So, would we have seen any? The fact that we saw one means something. If it's that, right? You still got 30% who didn't get it. So out of the 70%, how many percentage would match the population total of who do drop? Aren't there a lot of people dropping as it is now? Aren't we seeing this now? Maybe we're counting now and we didn't before. That's a possibility. The issue is we're dealing with two unlikely causes. The problem I have now is that we just got an instance of Commotio Cordis, and it just so happened to be right after the NFL and the Players Union decided to mandate, for the most part, quibble about mandate, but they basically mandated it, made it really hard for people not to get it, or to avoid getting it. And all of a sudden somebody drops from routine play, from a routine play. I don't care. You can say, oh, that was a violent play. Violent plays happen all the time. All the time. Pick a game, multiple times in that game. Damar Hamlin's had it happen to him before. Everyone has. Who plays that game. They never drop from that. Never drop from it. All of a sudden, the coincidence, just a coincidence it happens to happen right after they mandated that for everybody. See, that's the problem I've got with it. It's not to say that it's impossible. Nobody knows what the real answer is. Also, I'm somebody who likes to follow the money. There's no big Commotio Cordis out there that you can sue when that happens. That's convenient when the other alternative would be possibly involving a big lawsuit. Now, in fairness, one of the points that was brought up to me was the fact that Damar is back. And you know what? I meant to start this video off by talking about how good that was anyway. And I should have done that. So anyway, that's the good thing about this is that the guy's back. Now, that being said, that does lean toward possibly the fact that the alternative narrative might not be as true. Maybe it was Commotio Cordis because, an impact that takes place, you would think, okay, maybe you can come back from that, but maybe if you have some issue. It might be long term. Right. So that's a possibility, but maybe it's not. Okay, because maybe how that works is that you get the you know what and you don't get any issues, but you keep getting it, right? Because you got to stay protected, they say. And then it builds up issues. But the human body is an amazing thing. So you can take something that's bad for you and it can recover from it. So there's no reason to assume necessarily that it still can't be the alternative narrative. And the point is this, that the broader point is this, is how we deal with the narrative and what's presented to us. It's unreasonable to just assume the standard narrative because that's the narrative. That's the mainstream narrative. That's the way the go with the flow, Oh, I'm only going to go with the flow. Is People need to call it how they see it. I think with Brandon Tatum, he's calling it how he sees it. I think most people are in this situation, but I think the way to look at this is to say we should not be so quick to dismiss people who are open. And that's the whole thing. It's like, it's interesting that just going, I wonder if is now got people going, oh, you think it's obviously Commotio Cordis. It's like, it can't be obviously Commotio Cordis because Commotio Cordis is super duper rare. It's more rare. How many people are dropping from the you know what or Commotio Cordis? More people have dropped in a week from the you know what than probably the past number of years. And again, when it happens, it's usually a hard, like a 90-mile-an-hour fastball, hit off a bat, a punch from, that's the type of stuff that causes that. Not a football hit between two pads. That's my take on it. So the point is that you can't run around going, oh, I know it. I knew it. This is the standard narrative. It's like, this is the attitude that people have that causes people to shut up about stuff. Who sets the standard narrative? We can't as people go around just assuming and belittling people who think differently than we do. And I think that's the broader point I want to get across here is this. I don't know how one can be established right now. One narrative. They've got two choices. How is one a super established? That's the issue I got with the way Brandon dealt with that video, because he's making it seem like, oh, you know me. I wouldn't say it, and I knew I was right. I knew I was right. And it's like, okay, but how do you know you're right though? In other words, you're like, I told y'all. But all you have is him saying what other people said he said. Here's the other thing. I'm glad I remembered this before I forgot the video. The doctors in Cincinnati practically dismissed Commotio Cordis because they know what I know, or when anybody else would know if they just Googled the dang thing. The odds of that are so rare. It can't be that. It's not that. The doctors in Cincinnati said that at the press conference. Now they know? How do they know? My question is, my point is, they don't know. They don't know. So nobody should be running around saying they know. And the fact that anybody would be running around saying they know tells me you're just falling for the hook, line, sinker narrative. That's all there is to it. People can say, we know that we're told that Joe Biden got 81 million votes, even though the guy ran a campaign from his basement. First time the guy's ever gotten to the presidency. I mean, weird things happen. But what are we told by those people? It's the freest and fairest election. You can't know that. No more than you can know Commotio Cordis. This is the problem. When somebody comes out and makes a declaration, I got an issue with that. I got no problem with people wondering about what happened. That's what we should be doing. But in any time somebody says, "Oh, the standard narrative has been established," I'll back off of that, because most of the time that just is not true. And we see that there's money at stake here. And there's a narrative that's being pushed. So the standard narrative that appears to be as unlikely as the alternative narrative has been established, and it happens to match where the money's at, where all the emphasis is at, where all the politicians are at. That doesn't seem strange to anybody. And that's why, for somebody like me, I'm never going to go along with that unless I know for sure. Like, I got to see, I mean, I've never seen that happen before in football. If it's a football issue, then why haven't we seen it in football? What we have seen it in is an issue that doesn't have anything to do with football. It happens to have to do with people in the public, other athletes like soccer players, you know, they drop and they ain't getting hit. They ain't getting tackled when they drop. Comedians. We've seen it. We know what's going on. And I'm not saying that in this case. It could still be Commotio Cordis. I'm just saying there's no way you could know.